In 1932, a loaf of bread cost just a few cents, and for many families, meat was something you saw maybe once a week. So your grandparents built sandwiches out of almost nothing. Number 10 was nothing more than a sweet spread on plain bread, yet kids treated it like dessert. Number 6 came from leftovers, something soft and heavy pressed between slices to make it last another day. And number 3 used a sharp, familiar flavor from the kitchen that most people today would never think to eat this way. Some of these sound strange, some are hard to imagine, and a few actually worked better than you'd expect. Your grandparents knew how to turn almost nothing into something that kept everyone going. Let's start from number 1 and work our way down to number 10. Number 1, the ketchup sandwich. Strip away every expectation of what a sandwich should be, and you end up here. 2 slices of bread, a layer of ketchup, nothing else. In the early 1930s, when money was gone before the week even started, this showed up in kitchens across the country more often than people like to remember. A bottle of ketchup cost just a few cents and lasted longer than anything else on the shelf, which made it reliable when everything else ran out. Mothers spread it carefully, sometimes a little thicker in the center to make it feel like more. The bright, tangy sweetness gave plain bread just enough flavor to chew through without stopping. Children carried it to school wrapped in paper, eating it quietly, knowing it was different, but still finishing every bite. The ketchup sandwich was not meant to be good, it was meant to be enough. And the fact that it counted as a meal tells you exactly how little some families had to work with. Number 2, the sugar sandwich. Strip away every idea of what a proper meal should be, and you are left with something almost too simple to believe. 2 slices of bread, a thin spread of butter if there was any, and a layer of sugar. Nothing more. In the mid-1930s, when sweets were a luxury most families could not afford, this became the closest thing children had to dessert. A bag of sugar cost just a few cents and could last for weeks, making it one of the only ways to turn plain bread into something that felt different. Mothers sprinkled it carefully, sometimes heavier for the children, lighter when supplies were running low. The sugar crystals crunched with each bite, and the butter softened just enough to hold everything together. In small kitchens, that simple sandwich could make a hard day feel a little easier. The sugar sandwich was not just food, it was a moment of comfort, and the fact that it felt like a treat tells you everything about the times people were living through. Number 3, the bread and butter sandwich. Strip away everything you think a sandwich needs, and you arrive at something as simple as it gets. 2 slices of bread, a thin scrape of butter, nothing else. In the early 1930s, when paychecks disappeared and grocery credit ran out, this became a regular meal in homes across America. Butter had to stretch the entire week, so it was spread lightly, sometimes so thin you could barely see it. But even that small amount made a difference. It softened the bread, added just enough richness to make it go down easier. Mothers cut the slices thick to make it feel like more. Some added a pinch of sugar for the children when they could spare it, turning something plain into something almost comforting. The kitchen stayed quiet, no pots on the stove, just the soft sound of bread being handled. The bread and butter sandwich was not made to impress, it was made to last. And the fact that it counted as a full meal tells you everything about how people survived. Number 4, the potato sandwich. Strip away everything you expect from a sandwich, and you end up with leftovers doing the work of a full meal. Cold mashed potatoes pressed between 2 slices of bread. Nothing more. In the 1930s, potatoes were one of the cheapest foods a family could buy, and they showed up at the table almost every night. What wasn't eaten didn't go to waste. The next day, those same potatoes were spread thick onto bread, turning yesterday's dinner into today's lunch. Some mothers shaped the potatoes into a flat layer so they wouldn't fall apart.
Others fried them first in a bit of grease, giving the outside a slight crisp while the inside stayed soft and heavy. It wasn't pretty, but it was filling, the kind of meal that stayed with you for hours. The potato sandwich was not about taste, it was about stretching what you had, and the fact that leftovers became lunch tells you how little could be wasted. Number 5. The bean sandwich. Strip away the idea that a sandwich needs structure, and you arrive at something built entirely out of necessity. A scoop of beans, usually leftover, pressed between two slices of bread. Nothing more. In the 1930s, beans were one of the cheapest and most reliable foods a family could keep on hand. A small pot could feed everyone for dinner, and whatever remained was saved for the next day. Cold beans, slightly mashed so they would stay in place, became a sandwich that could be carried to work or school. Mothers spread them carefully so they wouldn't spill out with the first bite. The texture was soft, a little grainy, but heavy enough to keep you full. In factory towns and rural communities, men ate these quietly during short breaks, knowing it would have to carry them through the rest of the day. The bean sandwich was not meant to be remembered. It was meant to keep you going, and the fact that it could do that tells you exactly why it was made.
Number 6. The peanut butter and pickle sandwich. It sounds like something that shouldn't work until you try to understand why it existed in the first place. Thick peanut butter spread across bread, with slices of pickle pressed right into it. During the Depression, both ingredients were cheap, shelf-stable, and always around. Peanut butter gave you fat and protein, something that actually filled you up. Pickles added salt and crunch, cutting through that heaviness in a way people didn't expect but quickly got used to. In small kitchens, this wasn't an experiment, it was practicality. Mothers used what was already open on the shelf, combining flavors without thinking too much about it. The first bite was unusual, but after that it made sense. It held together, it satisfied hunger, and it didn't cost much. The peanut butter and pickle sandwich wasn't created to be clever, it was created because it worked. And the fact that people kept making it tells you everything you need to know. Number 7. The peanut butter and banana sandwich. This one came from combining two of the few things that were both affordable and filling. A thick layer of peanut butter spread across bread, with slices of banana pressed gently on top. During the 1930s, peanut butter was one of the cheapest sources of protein a family could rely on, and bananas were often the only fruit that stayed within reach. Together, they made something that actually felt like a complete meal. In busy kitchens, this was put together quickly, no stove, no waiting. The peanut butter held everything in place, while the banana added a soft sweetness that made it easier to eat, especially for children. It wasn't messy if done right, just simple and dependable. The peanut butter and banana sandwich wasn't about creativity, it was about balance. And the fact that it could fill you up for hours is exactly why it lasted. Number 8. The mayonnaise sandwich. Strip away everything you think a sandwich should have, and you are left with something almost too simple to believe. 2 slices of bread, a thick spread of mayonnaise, nothing else. In the 1930s, when the icebox held little more than a jar or two, mayonnaise became a reliable fallback. It was inexpensive, calorie-dense, and didn't require cooking, which mattered on days when there was nothing else to prepare. A single jar could stretch across many meals if used carefully. Mothers spread it edge to edge, sometimes adding a pinch of salt or pepper when they had it. The texture was smooth and heavy, coating the bread in a way that made each bite feel more filling than it should have been. The kitchen stayed quiet. No pots, no pans, just the soft sound of a knife across bread. The mayonnaise sandwich was not made to impress. It was made because it was there. And the fact that it could stand in as a full meal tells you how little people had to work with. Number 9. The tomato sandwich. Strip everything back, and you end up with something that only worked because of the season. A thick slice of tomato on bread, usually with a layer of mayonnaise, nothing more. During the Depression, fresh vegetables weren't something you bought often, But if you had a small garden, tomatoes came in heavy for a few weeks. When they did, this sandwich showed up almost every day. It was one of the rare times a meal felt fresh instead of just filling. Mothers sliced the tomatoes thick and sometimes let them sit for a moment with a pinch of salt, pulling out just enough juice to keep the bread from getting too soft. The first bite was messy, the juice soaking in, the flavor bright and slightly sweet. The tomato sandwich didn't last all year. It couldn't. But while it did, it reminded people what real food tasted like, and that small change meant more than it should have. Number 10. The onion sandwich. Strip everything down to the bare minimum, and you are left with something sharp, simple, and unforgettable. A thick slice of raw onion between two pieces of bread, sometimes with a light smear of lard if there was any to spare. In the 1930s, onions were one of the few foods families could grow themselves, which made them dependable when money was gone. They cost almost nothing, and they were always there when other ingredients weren't. Mothers sliced them thinner for children, thicker for men heading out to work. The first bite hit hard, that sharp sting filling your mouth and eyes at the same time. But after a moment, it settled into something that felt like real food. The smell stayed with you for hours, a quiet reminder of what you had eaten. The onion sandwich was not made to be pleasant, it was made to be enough. And the fact that people kept eating it tells you everything about the times they were living through. Looking back at these sandwiches, it's hard to imagine how little people had, and yet how much they managed to do with it. These weren't recipes passed down for taste, they were built out of necessity, out of whatever was left in the kitchen when there was nothing else. And still, there was something human in them. A mother trying to make it feel like a meal. A child thinking a sugar sandwich was a treat. A family sitting together, even when there wasn't much to share. Which one of these would you actually try today? Let me know in the comments. And if this reminded you of stories your grandparents used to tell, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because these weren't just sandwiches, they were survival.